I found out by accident. It started with a calendar invite I wasn't supposed to see, a meeting scheduled for a role that sounded a lot like mine. Then, the job posting. It was familiar. They were trying to replace me, and they were trying to do it quietly. My first instinct wasn't to panic or confront anyone. Instead, I decided to let them try. You can always feel it when things start to shift at work, can't you? The conversations get shorter, the long-term planning discussions stop including you. You get vague answers to direct questions. Projects you've managed for years are suddenly reassigned. Just temporarily, they say. I started noticing I was being left out of meetings I used to lead. At first, I tried to convince myself I was just overthinking it, maybe a little paranoid. But then, I saw the job description. It was posted internally on the company portal. Same title, same responsibilities, same reporting line. Everything was identical, except for one line. Seeking candidate with a stronger leadership presence. Leadership presence. That was an interesting choice of words. I could have marched right into my manager's office and demanded an explanation. But what would that have accomplished? It would have forced their hand, made them deny everything, and a denial just gives people more time to cover their tracks and prepare their next move. So, instead of them preparing, I prepared. I started organizing everything I did. I created detailed process documentation, mapped out workflow dependencies, listed all our vendor relationships, and created system access maps. I outlined every single project timeline. I wasn't doing this for revenge. Not at all. I was doing it for accuracy, because if someone was going to step into my role, they were going to need a very clear picture of what it entailed. They never officially informed me of anything, of course, but you notice things. I started seeing new faces around the office. One of them, a new hire, was assigned to shadow me for a day. The introduction was casual, almost dismissive. This is so-and-so, they're just helping out on a few projects. Of course. My job wasn't complicated on the surface, but it was incredibly interconnected. I handled all the cross-departmental coordination, the stuff that keeps different teams from stepping on each other's toes. I was the keeper of all the informal knowledge, the little details and histories that no system could ever capture. I tracked risks based on years of experience, knowing which small problems could snowball into major disasters. Replacing a job title is easy. Replacing that deep, accumulated context, that's not so easy. Finally, the day came. My manager pulled me aside for a quick chat. They said, "We're bringing in some additional support to strengthen the team." Strengthen, not replace. A very corporate, very safe word. But I understood exactly what it meant. They began shifting my responsibilities over to the new person. It was a slow process. They were testing the waters, seeing how the systems would hold up without me at the helm. I followed every instruction they gave me, exactly as they gave it. I offered no extra insight. I didn't point out potential problems ahead of time. I didn't make the silent corrections I usually would. If something wasn't written down in my documentation, it wasn't transferred. If a question wasn't asked, I didn't preemptively answer it. I want to be clear. I didn't sabotage anything. I simply stopped carrying the invisible weight that wasn't part of my official job description. It didn't take long. Within 2 weeks, the cracks started to show. A key vendor escalated an issue, completely confused by the new point of contact. A critical weekly report was submitted incomplete because the new person didn't know where to pull one of the data points. A project deadline slipped because no one knew about a hidden dependency between two teams, a dependency that only I was aware of. None of it was catastrophic. Nothing burned to the ground. But it was all noticeable. The small, smooth efficiencies that everyone took for granted were suddenly gone. The machine started to sputter. This led to a meeting with senior leadership. They wanted to know, why are we suddenly seeing these operational slowdowns? My manager gave some general, vague explanations. Growing pains, transition adjustments, the usual corporate speak. Then, one of the executives turned and asked me directly, "Is there anything we should know? Anything that could help us understand what's happening?" I looked at them and answered calmly. "All of our processes are documented in the shared drive, and they were. técnica. Li. But here's the thing about documentation. It explains the what. It tells you what button to press. Experience explains the why. And the why wasn't written down anywhere, because no one had ever asked me to write it down before. It was just the knowledge I carried. About a week after that meeting, the internal job posting quietly disappeared. The additional support person was just as quietly shifted to a completely different project in another department. My old responsibilities started trickling back to my plate. There was no big announcement. No apology. It was just a silent reset, as if the whole thing had never happened. My manager eventually came to me and said there were some concerns from leadership about scalability. Scalability. Another safe word. A much safer word than replaceable. He just nodded. Ten primera sa ad. I am happy to discuss my long-term growth. Here, appreciate it if those conversations were based on clarity and transparency. After that day, things changed. The conversations became much more direct, more transparent. They had tried to replace me quietly. Maybe it was to save money on my salary. Maybe they wanted someone they felt they could control more easily. Or maybe, just maybe, they completely underestimated the value of the role beyond the job title. I didn't fight them. I didn't argue. I just let them try. And when the system itself started to show the strain of my absence, they learned a very important lesson. Replacing a person is easy. Replacing their value is not. Thanks for watching. If this story resonated with you, let me know in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe for more content like this. See you next time.